Hey, Pin Dude here. Welcome back to My Vintage Pinball. Pinball Restoration Update 1990 Williams Rollergames, part number 8. So in this episode, we're going to start by starting to restore some of the parts of the playfield, getting things cleaned in the ultrasonic cleaner, getting things going in the tumbler. The tumblers are going to be running for a long time, as there's a lot of parts on the playfield to tumble. We're going to be removing Mylar. I will show you how I remove Mylar using the freeze spray method. And then to remove the glue, I use the flour and alcohol method. We're going to be doing that. We're going to be cleaning the playfield, getting all the ball swirls out of the playfield with magic eraser and alcohol, buffing the playfield, and generally getting the playfield to the point where we're ready to start doing touch-ups. Maybe water slide decals, whatever we need to do to get the playfield ready for clear coat. So that'll be in this episode. Hasn't been a lot going on the last few days. It's been really hot. The weather's just broken today. We're finally out of the heat wave, and it'll be much more comfortable to be in the garage. So let's get some stuff together and let's start working. Alright, so we're going to start by washing a bunch of stuff in the ultrasonic cleaner. Anytime you do your screws in your tumbler, it's a good idea to clean them before you put them in the tumbler. If you don't clean them first, you will contaminate your tumble-in media, and the media, walnut shells or corn cob, won't last as long. It'll get a real dark color, and it'll just break down a lot quicker. So you always want to wash your parts first. And since we're going to be doing mainly screws, the little tray that comes in the Harbor Freight ultrasonic cleaner is not very good. The screws fall right through this, and then you got to pick everything out of the bottom, like with a magnet or something. So I stole this tip from Chris Hutchins from High End Pins. If you read his threads on Pinside, you'll see him use this a lot. So I went to Walmart, and for $2.97, I got this 6-inch metal mesh strainer, $2.97. And I'm going to put all my screws in here, and then you put this on top of the ultrasonic cleaner and run it. So now, when you're done, it's easy to get your parts out of the strainer, and you can kind of shake it around in there and get everything nice and clean. So I wish I would have bought this a long time ago. So this will work out really good. Alright, so what I use in my ultrasonic cleaner is a 50-50 mix of mean green super strength, just the normal mean green that you can get at Dollar General, and I believe they also sell it at Home Depot. And so 50% of mean green and 50% of distilled water. You don't have to use distilled water. I have well water here at the house. It's got a real high iron content, so I don't really like to use the well water, so I use distilled water. Now you can use hot water to start, but since I'm reusing the same water for a while, it's going to get cold eventually. I just use the built-in heater. It does take quite a while to get the water up to temperature, but I just turn it on well before I need to use it, and it warms it up real good. So gonna mix this 50-50 in the ultrasonic cleaner, and we'll start cleaning some screws. Alright, I got my 50-50 mix of mean green and water in the ultrasonic cleaner, and I turned it on a while ago. It's nice and warm. And then I like to pre-soak my plastic parts, especially since everything's so gross on this game. So we're just going to put the plastic parts along the sides of the ultrasonic here. And then I'm going to take my first bag of screws. I just do one bag at a time, so I don't get my screw bags confused. I like to keep my screws, to the point where I know what bag they came from. So we'll put this bag off to the side, and we're going to take our screws, put them in the strainer, and then set up our timer here to the maximum time. And turn our ultrasonic on and let it go. Okay, I ran these on a couple cycles, and they look really nice. So what I'm going to do is I just have a tub of warm water here. I'm just going to rinse this stuff off in the warm water. Wish I had a sink out in the shop, but I don't. And then we'll move these onto a towel and blow dry them off. All right, so I'm just going to take my parts here that I've rinsed off in warm water and dump them out on a towel and give them a little pat dry. And then we'll take our blow gun and blow them dry. They came out really good. I'm actually surprised how good they look. They're not going to. These aren't going to need a lot of tumbling. These are all the screws from under the playfield. They look really good. So I think these are just going to go through the corn cob. So I can actually prepare another bag of screws that'll go in the walnut shells, and we'll get both tumblers running. So I'm just going to let these sit and air dry for a while. You do not want to put anything that has any moisture on it in your tumbler, as it'll cause clumping and all kinds of not so good things in your tumbler. So we'll just kind of spread these out on the towel, let them air dry. And now I just got the plastic parts that I ran through the ultrasonic, just doing the same thing, rinsing them in water. And then we'll dry them out. All right, so all this hardware from the bottom of the playfield that came out of the ultrasonic cleaner looking really good is going to go into the corn cob, where it's just going to get polished. And in the corn cob, I'm going to use a couple dabs of the Mother's Mag and aluminum polish that I always use in my corn cob tumbler. And in my other tumbler here, I have walnut shells. So all these rustier looking posts and hardware that came off the top side, that's going to go into the walnut shells for probably 48 hours. And then after it goes through the walnut shells, I'll transfer it over to the corn cob to get polished. And hopefully all these posts that are kind of rusty, hopefully they'll come out good and I won't have to replace any. But we will find out in a few days. And then there's still plenty of bags of hardware that need to be done in the tumblers after this. And in the walnut shells, I use the Turtle Wax Premium All Metal Polish. I just shake this up and put a couple dabs. Oops, that was a little much. A couple dabs of that in there. Put the lid on, make sure the lids are tight. If you don't get these tight, they rattle. And we'll turn these on and let them run. All right, back to the playfield. I need to get the rails off, these little rails that are pressed into the playfield. There's plenty of ways that you can go about this. What I do is I get my roll punches out, and I get one that fits in the little hole in the bottom, and I punch them out from the bottom. So I just work it back and forth in both of the holes. And then once you get it close enough, you can pull it right out. So that's the way I get these metal posts out. You just want to be careful. You want to get it. You want to work it even. You don't want to cock it. You don't want to risk. You don't want to risk chipping the edge of the playfield. So I'm going to work on getting the rest of these out. There's only there's only 5 on this playfield. All right, we got all the metal rails off. There was only 5 on this game, so that didn't take very long. So now we got to get the nails that hold the pop bumper assemblies in, they actually push in from the top. I just want to be careful. I just use my little hammer here and I pound them out from underneath. You just want to be careful, go slow. You don't want to risk chipping the playfield. But they come out with a little pounding to get them going. And then once you get them going, you can just unscrew them. All right, there's roll pins in the playfield. This is for the alignment of the flippers. There's another one up here for the upper flipper. So I want to pound these down. I don't want to pound it up because it might chip the edge of the playfield. So I'm just going to get the appropriate size roll pin punch. If you don't have roll pin punches, you can get these really cheap on Amazon. I mean, I think these were only I don't know, $10 maybe on Amazon. It's a 9-piece roll punch set, and it comes in this little roll-up bag. You really need these for doing playfield restorations. And it pounds right out, and hopefully you don't lose it. And we'll just pound these 3 out. All right, so any stickers that are on the bottom of the playfield here, I want to get these off carefully because I probably have to scan them so I can make new ones because I want to put them back on the playfield. So I'm just using a razor knife to hopefully get it off in one piece. All right, so I want to get all the T-nuts out. So I just get a screw, a long screw that is the size of the T-nut, and I screw it into the T-nut, and I just tap it out with my hammer. They come out pretty easy. All right, so the wooden rails here, I'm going to unscrew these, and I'm going to temporarily screw them on upside down so they're on the bottom of the playfield. I do this because I don't want the playfield to warp. Now eventually we're going to have to take them off when we get closer to the clear coat stage, but for now I just like to prevent the playfield from any warpage. So I'll flip all these around, then I'll come back. All right, so now we have the playfield completely stripped. I put the rails on the back side just for now, just to try to keep the playfield flat. And I just want to give it a quick cleaning. I'm just using Nuvis 1 and I'm spraying it on the rag. I'm not going to spray it on the playfield. I don't want to risk raising any grain or anything. I just want to get all this black coil dust off. So I'm just going to give it a quick wipe. And we'll just clean this up a little bit. I mean, you can see it's disgustingly dirty. All right, it's time for Mylar removal. Now, this playfield's not too bad. We have a bigger piece of Mylar right here, but it's not that big. It goes around the pop bumpers and just under the rollover lanes here. And then there's a ball drop Mylar here. There's a ball drop Mylar here and a ball drop Mylar here. So not too bad. And what we're going to use, I'm going to use the freeze spray method. And this is a 4-pack that I got at Walmart. It was like $12, so $3 a can is not too bad. But watch out with this stuff. It's got a bitterant in it. I don't know if they all do, but anytime I've gotten these, they have a bitterant in it to prevent, or to help prevent kids from huffing this stuff. And it's really nasty. If it gets in your mouth and your nose, it like lasts forever. So I'm gonna start with a dust mask, and if it's still bothering me, I'm gonna grab my canister mask. But we'll see how it goes. But this is what we're gonna use. This is the Ultra Dusters. get them in the AV section of Walmart is where I got them. You know, like where the DVDs and computers and stuff are. And you turn the can upside down, and it makes it freeze. If you use the can the regular way, it's just air. So let me get set up, and we'll start removing Mylar. All right, so all we need for this first part of removing the Mylar is the upside down can there, which is going to be our freeze spray. And I also have a razor knife holder with one of these plastic razor blades in it. That's so we can get up and under the Mylar if we need to. Hopefully we'll be able to just peel it off carefully, but we'll see how it goes. But the whole procedure here is to spray the Mylar with the freeze spray, let it freeze up and soak in for a little bit, and then we want to try to get a section lifted up. Now on this playfield I have a corner here and a corner here that's already kind of lifted up and it's got dirt under it. So I'll be able to get that lifted up. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to spray the freeze spray, try to get it under there and on top. Let that soak, and then I'm going to grab that section and just carefully, I'm not pulling hard, just very carefully and slowly pulling a little bit. If there's any resistance, stop and spray more freeze spray on it. And that's going to be the whole procedure. Freeze spray, let the freeze spray soak in for a few seconds, give it a gentle pull. If it doesn't move, give it more freeze spray. If it moves, pull it back until you feel resistance again, and then spray more freeze spray. So we're just going to carefully do that until we get this whole Mylar off. It's going to take as long as it's going to take. You do not want to, if you pull too hard, you will remove paint. You will remove, you know, sections of paint. Especially you have to be careful where the inserts are. Like I have, let's see, I have 4 inserts that this Mylar is on top of. If I'm not careful, we're going to lose this 1, 2, 3 and extra ball text. So that's going to be the most important part. Over here in the main area will probably be okay as long as the paint is stable under there. But we have to be extra careful on these inserts. So that's the procedure. Let's try it out and see how it goes. All right, so we're all ready to go here. I got my little dust mask on, so I might sound a little funny. And we're going to start at this corner here. So let's give it a shot. All right, so we got that corner up. That corner was already loose a little bit. It's got some dirt under it, so that was the easy part. So now we're going to try to get some freeze spray under there. And try not to freeze our finger off. All right, got another little section off. And I'm just going to keep going. Look at that, it's coming right off. And I am not pulling, like, really at all. Like, just barely. And I'm getting freeze spray under and on the top. Like, it's coming off so easy that the force of the freeze spray, the pressure from the can is blowing the Mylar off. All right, so that was a can. So I gotta get another can here. But don't worry about wasting product here. This was $3 a can. It's more important to get this Mylar off without damaging anything. All right, so let's keep going. All right, there we go. So there's that piece of Mylar. It's a fairly big piece of Mylar, but not that big. Took a can and a quarter. I probably could have done it with less, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't damage anything. So let's get that Mylar out of the way. And let's wipe off some of this ice. And that looks pretty good. You can see all of our text is intact. And we did not lose any paint. If you did lose any paint, it would be on the back side of the Mylar. Get all this ice off here. And you can see this is dirt here. And this is dirt down here. So we didn't lose any paint. Now, the good thing is we got the Mylar off. The bad thing is that all the glue, the sticky part of the Mylar, is still on the playfield. So, you know, we still got to get that off. And I'm going to be using the flour and alcohol method for that. But first, I have four little ball drop Mylars to get off. So let's start with this one. It's got a corner already lifted up. These will go really quick because these are tiny. So got one off. All right, so these next two are going to be a little bit trickier because they are on there good. There's no corner to lift up. Yeah, these ones are on there good. Maybe I'll carefully try the plastic razor knife. Yeah, that worked. So I got a corner, well, I had a corner up. There we go. The freeze spray is basically blasting it right off. All right, so there's the third one. And there's just one more to go. Okay, they're all off. Used about a can and 3/4. All right, so now we're just clean up these areas and we will get ready to remove the glue. All right, so now we're ready to remove the glue. You'll notice that you got the Mylar off and it still looks like the Mylar is there because that is all the sticky part of the Mylar still there. So what we're going to use is I have some just regular baking flour and some 91% alcohol and my little plastic razor knife. Well, plastic razor knife. This is a red one. It's actually got a fairly sharp edge, so you have to be careful with these. Even though they are plastic, you can still do damage to your playfield, so be very careful. All right, so I'll start on this little section here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to sprinkle some flour onto that glue. This is going to get messy, by the way. And then I'm going to take the alcohol and pour it on top of the flour. And let that soak a little bit. Kind of take our finger and feel around, see if the glue is doing anything. The hope here is that the glue will just kind of ball up and come off the playfield. and I believe it is. I can feel something balling up under my finger. It's probably going to take a couple applications of this to get it all off. But so far I haven't used the plastic knife. I'm just using my finger. Alright, I think we're to the point where we're going to wipe this off and see what we have. Alright, that did a pretty good job. It is pretty much all off. I see one little section that may have a little bit of glue on it. So I will put just a little bit of flour on there. And a little bit of alcohol. And we'll let that soak in. Alright, so that is it. That is, there is no more glue on that little section there. So I'm going to do the other two little ball drop ones, clean this up a little bit, and then I'll come back when we do the big one up top there. Alright, so I got the three little ball drop areas all done, all the glue's off. That was no big deal because they're small. So now let's tackle this bigger area. This is going to be even messier. Hasn't been that bad so far. And this really works good. I've tried Goo Gone, I've done all the other methods, and this is just like magic. It works so good. I've done this on earlier Williams solid states. I've done this on Data East games, and it just works. Alright, I got all my flour down. Now I'm just going to take the alcohol and pour it on the flour and let it soak. This is where you find out your playfield's not level. Alright, so it's soaked for a little bit. We're just going to test a little section here. And yeah, it's starting to ball up. This big of a section, I assume is going to take 2 applications. It's coming up pretty easy. You can see all these balls of the adhesive. Alright, so let's try to get this up off the playfield. Kind of want to get it into a pile and then scoop it off. Alright, so now I'm just using a little alcohol on a rag to get any other pieces up. Every now and again I'll see something ball up, so I know there's a little piece on there. But I think we pretty much have it. I'm not seeing or feeling any other pieces, so that was one application of the flour and alcohol, and that is all it took. So I'm just using my blowgun to blow all the flour out of the holes. All right, and that's it. Now we just got to clean up this huge mess that we made in the garage. And so there you go. There's Mylar removal the easy way with freeze spray, and the Mylar glue removal with flour and alcohol. All right, so our next step here is to get rid of all the ball swirls and ball tracks. You can see I'm going to start right here. You can see this dark black ball track from the ball coming around the orbit here. And there's all kinds of ball swirls inside this orange line here. And you can see where the Mylar was, is nice and clean and gray. And everything outside of that is like a muddy, brownish, grayish black. And that's because of all the ball swirls. So you're not going to be able to get that out with just like, buffing this with Nuvis 2. It's not going to do anything to that. The only way to get that out is to use a magic eraser and alcohol. Now, let's say this is a procedure that can be damaging to the playfield. Basically, this magic eraser is sandpaper. So if you were to use this dry, it would be like, sanding your playfield with a fine grit sandpaper. So the alcohol is going to make this not as abrasive. So the whole key to this procedure is to keep the magic eraser wet. So I'm going to cut off a smaller piece of magic eraser here. And we're just going to soak the magic eraser in alcohol. And as we progress, we're going to keep adding alcohol. So we're just going to get the magic eraser wet. And we're going to start scrubbing. Now there's only so far you can go. Eventually you'll start to see paint on your magic eraser. So if you see anything other than the brownish, blackish color that you're removing, if I start to see orange, I'm done. I can't go any further. So this is coming off pretty easy, as you can see. And the good thing about this playfield is the paint seems pretty stable. I don't think we're going to have too many problems. Some of these gray areas, though, don't seem as stable. So they might be a little more of a problem. But so as you see, the magic eraser is going to get awfully dirty. Don't worry about that. As you go, the magic eraser is going to disappear in your hand. It's just going to start to shrivel up as it gets worn out. But you can see it is doing quite a good job. And I'm not scrubbing real hard. The more you scrub, the more you're sanding that top layer of lacquer off the playfield, and eventually you will blow right through that lacquer and get down to the paint. And we do not want to do that. As you can look at this magic eraser, it's just shriveling right up. But that's fine. Make sure you buy extra magic eraser, because for a whole playfield, you're going to go through quite a few pieces. So already, you can see that line is gone. There's a little bit left here, so let's see if we can get that out. See, I may not be able to get all, it's starting to come. Where you have a wear spot, like I have this wear spot here, you have to be really careful around that, because it'll be very easy to make that worse. You'll just start getting a much bigger section of paint loss there. Alright, so that's pretty much it for that piece. And I'll just keep going. It's pretty time consuming, but it's well worth doing. Alright, so we have a long ways to go, but you can see it's already done quite a good job. I did have a little paint loss right here. I got a little too aggressive with that ball track there. But there was already some paint loss there, so it was kind of inevitable. So as the magic eraser and alcohol dries, you can see the playfield's got a dull finish to it, and it's got some white residue on it. So what I'm going to do about that is I'm going to use a little bit of Nuvis 2. And we're just going to kind of clean that off and see what we're left with. Alright, so that brings some shine back to it, and you can kind of get an idea of where you're at. Looks pretty good. A lot better than it was. But it's, you know, when the playfield's as bad as like this, I already worked on this area a little bit, and it's not getting all that much better. So I don't know how good we're going to be able to get that. You know, because I already lost a little paint here. It's not going to be very long before I'm losing paint here. But, you know, you can already see this general area looks pretty good. So I'll keep working at this, and I'll come back from time to time to show my progress. Alright, so I'm just spending a little time here switching over the tumblers. The tumblers have run for about 2.5 days probably. So the stuff that was in the corn that started out decent, I just put it through the corn. This didn't even go through the walnut shells. And you can see these screws look brand new, or even a little shinier than brand new screws. So they came out real good. And that was in the corn cob with the mag and aluminum polish. So those screws are all set to go. So I'll set this bag aside. And that's our first bag of screws that's all done. And now I'm working on the other tumbler. This is the Amazon tumbler that has walnut shells in it. So I got all of my parts out just by using my magnet on a stick. I have a couple of these. I have a lower powered one and a higher powered one. And just run it through here, kind of run it around until I get everything out of there. So now this stuff, you can see a lot of this stuff's kind of dull. This was that bag of posts that had really, I mean, everything on the top side of the playfield was really rusty. So now that we're out of the tumbler, nothing has rust on it anymore. But, you know, the finish of the posts, you know, is damaged from the rust, and they look real dull. So these are going to look a lot better once we get them out of the corn. And then we'll probably have to run these on the buffer with the buffing compound. But you'll see how good these come out as we get through the restoration process here. Now, when your parts come out of the tumbler, all the walnut shells are going to be stuck in the head of the Phillips screws. And then these threaded posts, all the walnut shells are stuck inside. So, you know, you can sit here with an X-Acto knife or a pick and work on picking this stuff out, but that's really time consuming. So we're going to use our air compressor with a blowgun, and you'll see here in a second, it's going to make our job much easier and much quicker. Alright, so I have a Phillips head screw here. The head is completely packed with walnut shells. So instead of sitting here with a pick and an X-Acto knife, spending all day doing this, we're just going to take our blowgun and it blasts it out that quick. So now I have a post. It's a threaded post. The threads go pretty deep into this post. It's completely packed with walnut shells. Just going to take our blowgun, put it in there, and you'll feel the walnut shell pieces blasting you in the face. You might actually want to wear safety goggles when you do this. But it goes this quick, much quicker than picking all these little walnut shells out. So another great use for the air compressor out in the workshop. Alright, so we went as far as we can with the magic eraser, and although it's not perfect, you know, I'm at the point now where, you know, I'm starting to remove paint. So I went over it as best as I could. This playfield was pretty bad to start with, so it's looking quite a bit better. Alright, so now the surface is really dull. I just cleaned it with naphtha. The naphtha took off all the white residue, but now it's just generally dull. So I'm going to go over the whole playfield with Nuvis 2, starting on a microfiber cloth, and we'll see what it looks like after that. But I think after that we're going to be pretty much as far as we can go as far as the cleaning process goes. So let's do that and see what it looks like. All right, I'm just finishing up with the Nuvis 2. I broke out my Wen 4-inch buffer, and I'm just going over the whole playfield with the Nuvis 2. And now that I'm done with the buffer, I'm just gonna buff the playfield clean, and then we'll see where we're at and how this playfield is gonna kind of look before we get to the touch-up phase. All right, so here we are, all finished up with the Mylar removal, glue removal, magic eraser and alcohol to get as much of the ball swirls out as we could. And then I just went over it with Nuvis 2. I used my Wen 4-inch buffer, and then I buffed it with a microfiber cloth, and there's where we're left. So that's going to do it for this episode. In the next episode, we need to sand out all the holes to get all the gunk and to get all the black coil dust and get them nice and clean. Obviously the back right now is a complete mess, so we'll need to we're going to end up sanding the back, at least lightly, and then it's going to be touch-ups. Now, although it looks like there's a lot of touch-up on this playfield, there's actually not all that much that we can do. You know, obviously wherever the paint's missing. The biggest thing that's going to make this playfield look better is replacing the text where it's missing and fixing all the key lines, because there's so many of the key lines are missing. So just doing that is going to make this look so much better. And then when we get a nice shiny clear coat on it, you know, it's not going to be the most perfect Rollergames playfield out there for sure, but it's surely going to look real nice. So let's wrap up this episode, and yeah, we'll do that now. Alright, so that'll do it for Pinball Restoration Update part number 8 on Williams Rollergames. Got quite a bit done. I'm quite pleased with the way the playfield came out. So we, let's see, we got the playfield initially cleaned, then we freeze sprayed some Mylar, then we removed some glue with the flour and alcohol. Then we, let's see, buffed the playfield with Nuvis 2, and it looks pretty good. Wasn't able to get all the ball swirls out. I kind of feared that that was going to be the case. The game, you know, was not very well maintained. You know, obviously the balls that were in it when I bought it were completely rusted over, and I mean, it just was not in good shape. I really wish it had that full Mylar on the lower section. It would have saved all those key lines on the teams, and it would have saved the figure 8 track on the bottom and the 2 girls on the side. It would have saved all that from getting all the ball swirls, you know, so deep into the paint. But unfortunately, it wasn't. So, you know, as far as Rollergames playfields go, I'd say mine is on the lower end of, you know, condition. Most Rollergames that you see that are not diamond plate are really good, especially in that lower area, because it has that full Mylar. So either the operator that had my game initially decided not to put that Mylar on, you know, I don't know what the deal is, but it is what it is. Once we get the touch-up done, which next episode, we're going to be doing all the touch-up. And there's not a lot of touch-up to do. Most of the painted areas are fine. You know, they have a little bit of faint ball swirl that I couldn't get out because, you know, I was just to the point where the magic eraser was going to take all the paint off. But once we get all the text fixed, either with paint or water slides, I'm hoping with paint. I typically will use water slides only as a last resort. I like to do everything I can in acrylic paint. We'll go over all of my technique for this in the next episode. We also have to sand all of the kick-out holes, and all the slots in the playfield need to be sanded out because they're all gunked up with black coil dust. So we got to do all that. We're going to sand the back. So that'll all be next episode, and it's looking like, if things keep going the way they are, 2 episodes, 2 pinball restoration episodes from now, I think we're going to be clear coating. You know, we're that close now that we're going to be clear coating really soon. So I'm excited about that, especially since the weather, you know, now that we're in September, it'll probably be very early October when I get to the clear coating. It's going to be like the perfect weather for clear coating. It's not going to be humid. It's not going to be too hot. It's not going to be too cold. It's going to be perfect. So I didn't time it intentionally like this, but it's going to end up being good. So that's all next episode and coming up on Pinball Restoration Update. So that'll do it. Please check out my Facebook page if you haven't done that. My Vintage Pinball Store and Pin Dude on Facebook. I'd love to get some viewer mails. If you have a question or a comment you'd like me to read on the air, please send me an email to fierodoug@gmail.com. The information for that's in the description down below. And that'll be it. So I want to thank you for watching My Vintage Pinball. I'm Pin Dude. This is My Vintage Pinball, and I will see you next time.